Sunday afternoon at the ballpark. Time for kids. Family Sundays. Lots to do at Citi Field. Watching the ball game, that's great, but got a little ring toss, got some face painting, all sorts of stuff for the kids to do. And that's a strike. At Citi Field in New York, Pix 11 Sports presents New York Mets baseball today. The Mets play the Miami Marlins. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling joins me in just a moment as the Mets wrap up a three-game series against the Miami Marlins. The Mets will be trying to avoid getting swept at home for the first time this season. Miami came in a downtrodden team, having lost 14 of 17. They faced Matt Harvey on Friday night, and Harvey, trying to wipe off the effects of his worst ever start in Pittsburgh, got off to a scintillating beginning. Retired 9 in a row, striking out 6, but in the fourth that changed. A couple of men on. Justin Bour got a hanging slider, hit a 3-run homer, and Harvey's night was ruined. The Mets rallied in the ninth, got within a run, but the Marlins, with A.J. Ramos getting the save, able to hang on, and they won it 4-3. Yesterday, John Neese, coming off 3 straight down starts, tried to regain his form, but Giancarlo Stanton was having none of that. A laser beam of a home run to get the Marlins started. JT Realmuto hit a home run as well, and Neese had himself another rough outing, 4 earned runs in 4 innings. But the Mets rallied. They were down 5-1. Ruben Tejada slugged one to left center for a double that drove in 3 runs, and the game was even. But Christian Yelich's base hit put Miami in front to stay. And then, well, as the coda on the night, Giancarlo Stanton hit what, by some measures, was deemed the longest home run in Citi Field history. And really, who are we to argue? Giancarlo has made this ballpark look awfully small. He is the most feared slugger in the game today, and the Mets have seen why.
You know, Gary, I've faced a lot of sluggers in my day, Mike Schmidt probably being the best of the lot, but I've never seen a guy like Giancarlo Stanton. Every time he comes to the plate, I expect him to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and against the Mets this year, it's pretty close to that. 5 of his 15 are against the Mets.
And he's taken Bartolo Colon deep, and the responsibility for Colon today is trying to keep Stanton in the ballpark.
You know, Colon's been a little iffy his last few starts. His control is not what it was the first 5 or 6 starts. He's got to have that back today, but he's got to figure some way to get Colon out. A good stat on Colon today. 5-0 in day games, which is pretty good for an older pitcher.
So Colon for the Mets, and the former Yankee David Phelps, who got off to a good start but has struggled lately, goes for Miami.
Was a swingman with the Yankees, starts sometimes, back in the bullpen. It's what he's done also with Miami. He's been a pretty good starter. A lot of sliders you'll see today.
So it's the Mets and the Marlins wrapping up a 3-game series before the Mets head west. Get those bases clean. Mets are hoping to be running around them often today. Mets and Marlins, all the action on Pix 11. to take advantage of incredible deals on the 2015 Sonata. By Verizon, America's largest and most reliable 4G LTE network. By Royal Caribbean, the only way to Caribbean is with Royal Caribbean. By Land Rover, above and beyond. By Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. And by Honda, start something special with a great deal on a Honda now at your Honda dealer. Be sure to get to Citi Field Sunday, June 14th, when the Mets take on the Braves at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans will receive a Mets cap, courtesy of Nathan's Famous. After the game, all kids 12 and under can run the bases in the Mr. Met Dash. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. Which brings us to the keys of the game, which are brought to you by Hyundai.
Nostradamus' quatrains contain the keys to the game this afternoon. Future so bright. Come on, can't stand the best power hitter by far in the game. Bartolo Colon hoping to continue his great day game work. And the Mets at home so far, 6-2-1 in series, and don't want to be swept by the Marlins today.
Did we mention it was sunglasses day at Citi Field? Bartolo Colon all by his lonesome. Reading the signature. Yeah, it says Rob Manfred. We're ready to go. First pitch is coming right up. On the final day of May, heading out to the mound for his 11th start of the year. Here's the Marlins starting lineup he will face, brought to you by Land Rover, above and beyond. First time since 2005 that the Marlins have a pitcher batting anywhere but ninth. Ichiro Suzuki gets his first start of the series. Justin Bour, who had the big hit on Friday night, back in the lineup today at first base. And both Solano brothers, the elder Jonathan and the younger Donovan, in the lineup today.
Well, the 7-3 record is outstanding, but the one stat that's not up there for Bartolo Colon, with the wind blowing out, he has given up 10 home runs in his 61 2/3 innings of work. Kia's got our defense behind Colon today. John Mayberry is going to get a start in left field. Terry Collins said he needs some at-bats. LeGarrison and Granderson. Infield's the same now with Tejada getting those starts at third base. Flores, Murphy, and Duda. And it looks like Colon prefers, right now, Anthony Recker behind the plate.
This will be the third start for Colon against the Marlins this year. He pitched a gem against them on that first homestand when the Mets swept a 4-game series from Miami. 7 innings, 1 run. But he got cuffed around a little bit in late April in Miami. Stanton took him deep. He gave up 4 runs and 9 hits in 6 2/3. A loss for him. D. Gordon will lead things off for Miami. It is a humid afternoon. There's the threat of rain in the forecast later. because right now there is some sun peeking through some high clouds.
Got to watch out for the threat of the bunt here with Gordon. He might test the big man on the mound.
Gordon continues to lead the National League in batting at .374, 76 base hits already in less than a third of a season. He's 3 for 9 in this series, and he's hitting .432 against the Mets this year. So Gordon will get things started. Tejada comes well in on the grass to guard against the bunt, and Colon's first pitch of the day is too high for ball 1, and we're underway. Gordon, Prado, and Stanton for the Marlins, who came limping into Citi Field, having lost 14 of 17, but have won the first 2 games of this series. And Gordon loops one into shallow center. Lagares coming on, but he'll have to play it on a hop, and Gordon has got another base hit.
Well, you can't play any shallower than Juan Lagares is playing. What happened is that Gordon was jammed on this pitch inside, and once he was jammed, kind of broke his bat. That's why it dropped in front of Lagares. See that ball? It's on the inside corner. It's a good pitch. He almost hits it on the, not the label, almost hits where the black and the white hits on the bat and dumps it in.
Right now, D. Gordon is Wee Willie Killer.
He really is.
He's hidden everything where they ain't.
Colon's got a good move, not a great move. He does a good job of varying his speeds, but I think Gordon is going to be on his way. Great way to combat the opposing team early in the game is get the running game going. Get it snapping.
That's also at their best arm behind the plate today, Anthony Recker. 20 steals for Gordon, tied with Billy Hamilton for the National League lead. He's also been caught more often than any National League base runner. Martin Prado 4 for 8 in this series, up to 280 on the year. And Colon 3 times in a row going after Gordon. Better and better throws each time.
It's good by Colon. Most base runners will tell you that they always think that a pitcher, if he throws 2 times over, will never do it the 3rd time. Very important to do that every once in a while.
And Gordon a little shaken up with that dive back into the bag. Pops right back up.
Well, he's got like 1.2% body fat, so there's no place to fall on.
First pitch to Prado. He is in for a strike.
Don't forget, Gary, the guy who hits in that second slot with a base stealer, he's got to take pitches. He's got to work the count. Give that runner a chance to steal.
Or, with the way Prado handles the bat, big hole on the right side, you can play hit and run.
See, Gordon always dives to the back of the base, makes that tag just a little bit longer for Lucas Duda. Boy, huge lead. In the old AstroTurf days, he would have had 1 foot on the carpet.
Prado takes it inside, a ball and a strike. Giancarlo Stanton looming on deck. He has had well, he's had a scary impact on this series already.
Yeah.
And so a big batter for Colon right off the bat with Gordon aboard and Prado at the plate. And he went the wrong way, and he just got back. Gordon was leaning, and Colon nearly picked him off, and Recker's walking out to the mound. And let's see if the Mets think about challenging.
Oh, he had him.
They might have him.
He had him on the hip. They should check it.
Terry Collins is coming out of the dugout, and he's just asked for a challenge.
Hey, listen, it's a hard call for the umpire because you're watching the hand, and you're looking for the tag to be on the hand. But he hits the hip before he gets that hand in there, in my estimation.
Trip Gibson, the young first base umpire, made the safe call, so they're going to have enough evidence in order to overturn that. And it's going to be borderline.
It's early on Park Avenue. It's pretty quiet there. You know, you don't have the hedge fund guys. But he's going one way. We saw him with a huge jump yesterday. To me, he got him on the hip before his hand got in there. Now, is there enough evidence? That's the hard part. See the fingers? They don't touch till now. I mean, it's evident he tagged him before then.
The fans are watching the replay on the board here at Citi Field, and they have kind of a mixed reaction, not overwhelmingly convinced, so we'll see.
The only issue is his right thumb underneath. Does it get the bag before his top fingers close? You know what I'm saying?
Well, the other problem is with the black uniform, it's a little difficult to discern where contact is made with the glove. I mean, is the glove in contact with the body at that point? Can you tell with that kind of depth perception?
I don't know, and that's don't know means it's hard to challenge it, not change it.
Right, because you need clear and convincing evidence to overturn the call on the field, and the initial call was safe.
Dave Freed, our great statistician, just reminded me of last night when I almost had a conniption when Jennings didn't challenge that play at second base. So Terry Collins starting early.
Well, there have been a number of occasions this year where we have had challenges in the initial moments of the ball game. Terry Collins had a number of first-inning challenges this year.
And I feel like the longer it takes, the less chance they're going to overturn it. That's just my feeling.
Play Under Review brought to you by Mazda, KBB.com's lowest cost to own brand over 5 years. Meanwhile, Colon standing on the mound, flipping the ball up in the air. He's only thrown 4 pitches in this game.
See, the thumb is the key for me. All right, the fingers do not touch before he's tagged, but did the thumb get in there before? That's the hard part. They're taking a long time. I'm starting to sound like McCoy in Law and Order, like I know what the jury is going to do. But
well, my contention about replay is if it takes this long,
it's don't. Not replay.
Then you probably just cut off the jam. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly.
If you're really splitting hairs that much that it takes 5 minutes to make a call, watching every angle back on Park Avenue, then there's really no reason to be overturning calls. You should be fixing the egregious mistakes, and this one is not one of those.
If it's a baseball game and you have to use a roller derby reference, then it's taking too long.
All right, here we go. And they say he's safe, so they do not overturn the call, and the Mets have lost their challenge for the remainder of the game.
Terry's livid. I'm telling you.
Well, the official time of review 2 minutes and 50 seconds, but the overall delay is close to 5 minutes, and now you've got Prado at the plate with a 1-1 count. Colon has already thrown to first base 5 times in this sequence. And Prado pops one foul, backing out of play. By the way, Colon, who has averaged 88.4 on his fastball this year, his first 3 fastballs of the game, 85.
Yeah. And it's interesting, as time goes on, he's going to get a little extra time in between starts. It'll be interesting to see if that makes a difference in the speed of pitch for Colon. A little shorter lead for D. Gordon.
Makes sense after nearly getting picked off. Colon ahead 1-2, and Prado hits one right at Murphy, and Gordon able to scamper back, and that's the first out of the game.
Well, good hitting by Prado, right at Murphy. Better base running by D. Gordon. I mean, you want to try to hit the ball to the right side. Peels it off, does Prado. Prado's hit 2-3 balls now that should be base hits, but it's been right at him. Watch Gordon freeze and then back.
So 1 out and 1 on, and now the big guy, Giancarlo Stanton. 2 home runs yesterday, 2 home runs in 8 career at bats against Colon. Stanton was 15 for the season, 5 against the Mets, 4 of the 5 here at Citi Field. First night of the series, the Mets held Stanton in check. He went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Yesterday, a different matter. And the slider off the plate, 2-0. There were a couple of different measurements on Stanton's second home run of the game yesterday. One of them was 466, which would have made it the longest home run in Citi Field history. The other one was 455, so flip a coin. And Colon keeping it on the outside edge. It's 2-1.
Well, you got the call there. Justin Bour on deck, that big 3-run home run against Harvey. I'm surprised that the Mets haven't changed it and tried to throw balls down and into Stanton. Let him pull the ball on the ground to the left side. Here we come.
Recker setting up inside.
That's the pitch.
Fouled off his foot. It's a foul ball.
That's the pitch you've got to use. Do you remember right-handed hitter Juan Gonzalez for the Texas Rangers? One of the great power hitters. Hit that ball off his front foot. The only way to get him out at some point was to throw the ball down and in. Can't lift it. Secondly, he's going to hit a blistering ground ball, and you just hope your fielders can make the play.
Oh, they're checking on Gordon. It's a lot of wear and tear on a base stealer over the course of a season. Not just the slides into second, but all those dives back into first. Used to see that with Jose Reyes, and toll it would take as the season would go along. Little flare, and Recker goes out to get it. Stanton got jammed about as badly as he can get jammed. And Colon has the second out of the inning.
Again, another pitch in on Colon, on Stanton. You forget sometimes that Colon is a guy that the ball will run in, so it looks like he can hit it until the last minute. And it's very rare that you see Stanton, not embarrassed, that's the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying, stuck in the box.
Just completely lost his balance and screwed himself into the ground. And he's not happy about that. So now 2 out. Here's Justin Bour, who has taken over as the regular first baseman for the Marlins and has gotten off to a phenomenal start. He's homered in his last 2 games. This is the 13th game he started. 61 at bats. He's hitting .361 with 4 home runs.
Interesting. He doesn't even, you can't even see the M on his helmet because he has so much pine tar that he keeps touching his helmet with. Look at, he has no batter's gloves, and that's why he just reaches up and gets that pine tar whenever he needs it.
Ward takes on the inside corner. 0-2.
I mean, this is Ichiro on deck. A rope-a-dope could break out between Colon and Bour.
It's a heavyweight matchup, that's for certain. And Bour pops one foul. That'll make it back into the seats. By the way, did you want to hear Juan Gonzalez's career numbers against you?
Not really.
Okay.
But give it to me.
8 for 23, 4 home runs.
I'm telling you,
he was really good.
I think Dave Freed has successfully, at this point, I almost want to just rip up my baseball card. Just start ripping them up, throwing them away.
Well, the problem is you always cite these really good players. You got to go the other way.
Oh, okay. All right. Keith's got it down.
See, Keith knows the stats in advance.
See, I don't know
He doesn't raise it unless he has great numbers against the guy.
You know, a funny story about Gonzalez, and this was after he'd done all the damage. We're in Texas, and Craig Paquette was the third baseman. I said, listen, kid, I'm going to throw the ball down and in. He's going to hit it as hard as you've ever seen it. Please make a few plays. And he did that day.
Senor Octubre. Here's the 1-2. And Bour chases the changeup. And Colon has his first strikeout and works around Gordon's leadoff hit. Nice recovery by Colon in that inning. Mets come to bat. No score. Phelps. Here's Your Mets starting lineup this afternoon brought to you by Land Rover, above and beyond. John Mayberry's first start this year against a right-hand pitcher. All of his starts before today had been against lefties, but Mets are not facing any lefties these days, and so with Kadire getting a day off, it's Mayberry playing left field.
I mean, they're in the middle of 10 right-handers in a row here with David Phelps. See, 8 starts. He also has appeared in 2 games in relief. He is a guy that you'll see a lot of sinkers, a lot of sliders. Tries to get you to hit the ball on the ground. Tries to limit his pitches. His whip extremely high, though.
Granderson 2 for 7 in this series, including a home run Friday night. He takes a fastball for a strike. Granderson at .238 for the year. Granderson, Tejada, and Duda for the Mets in the opening inning against Phelps. Phelps was always a swingman for the Yankees, starting, relieving, and did that effectively for a few years. Came in the trade that brought the Marlins Martin Prado with Nate Eovaldi and Garrett Jones going the other way.
Boy, that's a good pitch right there. If he's got that pitch working like Cologne does, it's going to make him highly effective.
Phelps, 28 years old, drafted out of Notre Dame by the Yankees back in '08. Granderson hits one in the air to right field, chasing Stanton back to the warning track and right at the wall to make the catch. And Granderson didn't get all of that, and that's the first out.
He is doing both defenses this afternoon. Yelich. Suzuki gets a start in center field with Stanton, of course, in right. Solano's been starting because Echeverria, when he had the collision, has been out. Justin Bour back in at first base. And Real Muto, after that 3-run home run yesterday, gets a day off. Jonathan Solano, the brother, gets a start behind the plate.
So it's Solano squared for the Marlins today. First brothers ever to play at the same time for the Marlins in their 23-year history. Here's Ruben Tejada, third straight day starting in the number 2 hole and playing third base, and he has justified that. 4 for 8 in the series, had a 3-run double in yesterday's game. Ruben up to 245 on the year, and hits the curveball down to third, and Prado makes the play across the diamond for the second out. So Phelps has retired the first 2. And now Lucas Duda. Sometimes I just like to listen to the Hendricks.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Best walk-up music in baseball?
Yes. Cashmere with Utley is not too bad either. But that's old guy speaking.
Yeah, well, you got to be what you are. Lucas has hit in 6 straight games. He's driven in a run in 5 straight. He's hit 6 home runs in his last 8 games. He's been hot. With his recent performance, Lucas now top 10 in the league in both on base percentage and slugging percentage, 7th in on base, 8th in slugging. He has been the go-to guy in this Mets offense from day one, and now the power has come. 9 home runs for the year, 6 in the last 8 games. And Phelps keeps it away from him, 1 and 2.
Love to see what pitchers try to do to power hitters when it's 0-2. You would like to see most pitchers rush something in, but we've seen that with Lucas. He ends up getting hit by the pitch. That was a little backdoor slider in the dirt that Duda didn't offer at. Fastball up is a pitch that they used earlier. I'm sorry, last season that he chased. Not chasing it as much this year.
Phelps had not given up a home run all season until he gave up 2 in his last start in Pittsburgh. Generally keeps the ball on the ground, and he hits Lucas with the pitch. That's the 7th time now that Dude has been plunked this year. That's tied for 2nd in the league behind Anthony Rizzo, and that one hurts.
That one hurt because I hit him right on the outside of the right knee, and that really smarts. Luckily, he's as big as a tree and can shake it off. Ray Ramirez is going to come out. The bigger question is that one of the Mets pitchers going to stop this nonsense? This is your best hitter. And they keep firing it in there and plunking him. I mean, at one point, you let him know that I got your back. I mean, this is nonsense for this to happen once every other game.
And what makes it even more troubling, it's the first batter David Phelps has hit this year. He's a pitcher with very good control. So, there's a...
I'm angry up here. I'm 100 years old.
It's not necessarily intent to hit Duda, but certainly to make him move his feet.
He wanted him to move his feet, and you pay when you lose your control like that. That's what happens at this level.
So here's Daniel Murphy, who had an 8-game hitting streak end yesterday when he went 0 for 4. And he takes the cutter low and in for ball 1.
Well, the last time Duda got hit against the Phillies, hit a home run his next at bat, so maybe he'll answer again.
Second day in a row the Mets have had a batter hit by a pitch in the first inning. Grounded toward the hole. Gordon can't get there. Base hit. Duda pulls in at second, so Daniel Murphy with a 17-hop single, and the Mets have 2 men on.
Well, I can't believe Gordon almost got to that ball. I mean, as soon as it left the bat, I said base hit in my mind, and then I had to take it back because Gordon almost got to it. Nice avoiding the baseball by Lucas, and that's what stopped him from going first to third. Great range by D. Almost got there.
So 2 out and 2 on, and now Wilmer Flores. Wilmer 2 for 9 in this series, hitting at .244 for the year. And he watches up and away for ball 1. So Phelps retired the first 2. He plunks Duda, and the Mets trying to make him pay for it. Flores hitting 5th in the order today with Michael Kadire getting the day off. You've got to watch it with Kadire. He's 36 years old and has not missed too many games yet this year.
I do have to say, though, I was wrong a couple of years ago when I said you got to get Marlon Byrd off his feet because there's no way he can play every day. Well, he did, and he was their best player. But I think you're absolutely right. It's a long plane flight. You're going to the West Coast. Perfect day for a team to go out there and get Mayberry some at bats and Kadire off his feet.
Mayberry on deck behind Flores.
Phelps, we saw him working very quickly when no one's on base. He tends to really slow it down when he's in a little bit of trouble.
Mets have faced him twice before this year, and he's been very good each time. His first start against the Mets here in April, he only went 4 2/3 because he had not been starting. But he only gave up 1 run, and then he went 6 innings, allowed just 2 runs in the game that he faced the Mets in Miami.
It's a good pitcher for Flores to face, though. Right on it. Likes to throw that little slider out and away. It's really the home run zone for Flores.
Here you see his pitching lines against the Mets this year. No decisions in both games. One of them a loss, one of them a win for the Marlins. The only other time that Phelps faced the Mets was as a Yankee when they routed him in the first inning. Two on, 2 out, 2 and 2 to Flores, and he goes well outside, full count.
Well, knowing Phelps, usually what you get from him 3-2 is you get the little wrinkle. So what helps you as a hitter is that sometimes they don't give you that good wrinkle, they just give you that get it over wrinkle, and it's a pitch that Flores usually masters.
Duda and Murphy get set to run. 3 and 2, 2 out, and Flores fouls back that little cutter. Wilmer with 7 home runs. Now 2 behind Duda for the club lead. Again the 3-2, and it's fouled away. Phelps dialing that up to 93, his hardest pitch of the afternoon so far.
That ball is up. Probably say to yourself at home, that was ball 4. Too close to take. You got to foul that pitch off. Nice job by Wilmer.
And I would think as a hitter you see that ball so well.
It looks so hittable.
That disconnect between your eyes and your hands. 8th pitch of the at bat coming from Phelps to Flores. And he hits one on the ground right underneath Bourne into right field. Duda racing for the plate with the game's first run, and it's 1-0 New York. Now Justin Bour had what looked like a routine play, and it went right underneath his glove.
Well, this has become today's game, and the guys that teach this, I don't understand it. They got one of the best in the game, Perry Hill, who teaches infielders. He teaches Castillo, Gonzalez, and others. One-handed all-star, as Keith calls him. Ball right between his leg. He just tries to backhand it. Just block that ball. If you block it and don't catch it, it stays in front of you, and you toss it to the pitcher. Bour, he giveth, and he taketh away.
His first error, and so the Mets get a gift run, and now John Mayberry will try and make more of it.
I mean, that's just I don't even know what to call that for him. If you were teaching a travel team, you might take the kid off the field after that.
I have confirmation. First run of the game brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. In this case, an unearned run. As Bour's error hands the Mets a 2-out run. Phelps had retired the first two, but he hit Duda in the knee. Murphy followed with a bouncing single, and then Flores with the ground ball for the error that brought in the game's first run. Mayberry's 11th start of the year, as we mentioned, his first against a right-hander. He is just 2 for 14 against right-handed pitching this year. It's been a very disappointing first 2 months for John. He hasn't played much, and when he hasn't hit. Terry Collins today harkened back to when Mayberry was playing regularly for the Phillies and the success he had then against righties. There's the curveball by Phelps to strike him out. Mets settle for an unearned run in the opening inning and hand Bartolo Colon an early lead. 1-0 New York as we go to the second. Plenty of the younger generation in the ballpark.
God, I always miss my kids when they were little. Can't remember.
Oh, I remember.
You can't remember when they were that little, can you?
Remember, I had 2 at a time.
That's right.
I remember a lot. I remember a lot of that.
I forgot you had the Brady Bunch working.
Ichiro Suzuki leading off in the second inning. Ichiro getting the start today in center field, where he's only won 2 Gold Gloves as opposed to right field where he won 8.
He's a phenomenal to watch if you're lucky enough to be in the opposing locker room before the game.
Toward the middle of the diamond, and Ichiro Suzuki has career hit number 2,877. That's just in the U.S.
Anything away, he just tries to go up the middle, doesn't make it too difficult, hits a little line drive that avoids Colon. I was talking about if you're in the locker room 2 hours before the game, he introduced this roller that everyone who works out uses now. He brought it from Japan, and he works on just making sure he's completely stretched out in his muscles, and he's been one of the most durable players in the history of the game.
You mean that foam roller that Bartolo Colon uses as a noisemaker in the clubhouse?
That one, yeah.
Here's Donovan Solano playing shortstop for the second straight day. Suzuki runs, and Solano with a hit-and-run base hit. Perfectly executed, and the Marlins have first and third and nobody out.
Remember I said before when Bartolo Colon did such a great job of holding D. Gordon at first base and almost picking him off. Sometimes these day games on Sunday, if you just push the envelope, sometimes the other team is falling asleep at the wheel. And you can see already that the Marlins, after 2 wins, are trying to get it going here and be aggressive early in the game.
So runners at the corners with nobody out. And Colon will face Christian Yelich, whose bat has come alive this last week. 3 for 9 in this series, and he's now hit in 7 straight games. He had the go-ahead hit in yesterday's game, and Colon throws one by him, 0-1.
The only difference I see in Yelich from last year to this year is his front shoulder is pulling out. Last year he did a great job of keeping that shoulder in, going up the middle and the other way. Just pulling out that right shoulder just a little bit. He's close.
He had the back problems earlier this year, and you wonder whether that has affected his mechanics at the plate. Hits it hard. Flores with a great diving stop. They get the out at second. Murph with a relay can't turn 2. But Flores does well to get an out as Ichiro comes home to score the tying run.
What a play by Flores. I mean, that ball was hit right on the button. Backhanded. Tosses the ball to Murph. Murph should have eaten it here. There's no reason to throw it to first base. Yelich is fast enough. Unlike Marcell Ozuna yesterday, Suzuki did score on the attempt at the double play.
Well, I think even Flores realized he had no chance for 2. That's why he didn't gun it to Murphy. He just knew he was going to get the 1 out. So it's an RBI for Yelich, and now Phelps, hitting 8th in the order, is up there to bunt. And he takes the pitch outside. The only other time that the Marlins have ever not batted their pitcher 9th was back in 2005. When they had Dontrell Willis, and he twice batted 7th and twice batted 8th. But Dan Jennings changing the program today and having Phelps, who's not a good hitter, bat in the 8 hole with Jonathan Solano hitting 9th. It's a fair ball, and Recker's going to throw to second, gets the force there, relay, but Murphy comes off the bag, and they can't turn 2. So a very aggressive play by Recker. The off-balance throw right on the money for the 2-6 force play in the second out.
You know, it's hard for you guys at home to realize how big a man Anthony Recker is, and to make that kind of infield athletic play and almost turn 2 is a real special play by your catcher. Yelich has got a lot of speed. He does not take out Flores, and the throw a little off. But they would have had him at first base.
And I think that may be why Recker took the chance. He figured that even if they didn't get the out at second, they could still get the out at first. Turns out they didn't. But now 2 out, and Jonathan Solano takes a strike.
2 beautiful defensive plays in a row, though, by the Mets.
Jonathan, the older of the 2 Solano brothers, 29 years old. They're from the nation of Colombia. 2 of a handful of players from that country to make it to the big leagues. Of course, the Mets have one in Dilson Herrera, currently on the DL. Ground ball for Murphy, and he makes the backhand flip to Flores to end the inning. Marlins get even thanks to a hit-and-run single, and they're tied at 1 in the second. The Dodgers finally scored on the road, got 7 good innings from Carlos Frias, and beat Michael Wacha in a 5-1 victory in St. Louis. The Angels hit 5 home runs in the first 2 innings in their 8-6 win over the Tigers. And Charlie Morton, 2 starts back from the disabled list. He has been fantastic. 34 ground ball outs in those 2 starts for Morton, and the Pirates now in a virtual tie for second place with the Cubs in that NL Central by virtue of their win last night.
Again, the wind up a little bit here at Citi Field.
Blowing out of the south, so it is blowing out. A hitter's win today.
Those got to be the shades, right? Blue and orange.
This future's so bright.
Nice.
By the way, the last couple of years we have had a tremendous presence in our truck. Riley Helson is an engineer in charge in our truck, and today is his last day on the job, and so we want to thank Riley for all his tremendous work and wish him all the best in all of his future endeavors.
Helsing. Van Helsing. Isn't that a character from Dracula? He liked night games.
Juan Lagares will lead things off for the Mets in the home second. Lagares just 2 for 19 on this homestand. By the way, remember the ball Lagares hit off Tom Kohler's shoulder yesterday? Kohler said after the game that after it hit him in the shoulder, it hit him in the head. And I did not see that on any replay, but he said that it knocked him a little bit woozy after it deflected off his shoulder and clipped him in the head.
Boy, I'm sorry I missed that. That was, we said afterwards that we felt as though he just wasn't right. Well, now we know why. I mean, it's as tough as they come. Mr. Kohler.
Broken back grounder down to Prado. And Lagares retired. Well, he certainly got helped out by his friends in the Marlins bullpen. Kohler got knocked out in the 4th, and the Mets got nothing against the Marlins pen.
Yeah, Romas got his first save of over an inning. Caps was pretty impressive. This is the play we're talking about. Lagares hits the shoulder.
I guess that's how his cap got knocked
there
off.
You go.
Came up and clipped him. In any event, he's fine. Here's Anthony Recker. 11th start of the year for Anthony. Hitless in his last 12 at bats. Had the 2 home run game in Chicago. Back homered in his first 2 at bats in that game, and then hasn't had a hit since. Programming note: Bartolo Colon on deck.
I'm ready.
His teammates have come to refer to it as must-see TV every time Colon goes to the plate. You just never know. He might take 3 pitches down the middle. He might attack one. Helmet might go flying. I'd love to see him try and bunt for a hit.
I want to see what your call is if he ever goes deep. I got to hear that.
Well, we were hardly expecting Syndergaard to go deep.
It might be the only time you say it with a question mark.
I just want to watch him run around the bases. How long will the home run trot take? That's hit hard, and Recker's got a base hit. Curve ball. And Recker pulls through the hole for the Mets' second hit, and that snaps that 0 for 12 for Anthony.
Almost every pitch middle away, nothing inside. So Recker went down and got it. Good hitting. Interesting with Donovan Solano, who's a very capable infielder, but he is not Echeverria, who might cover that ball. That's how good he is.
Well, Colon up at a bunting spot with a runner at first and 1 out. Has 2 hits and 2 sacrifices this year. And stabs at it for strike 1.
You got to remember, if you're a pitcher, 99 out of 100 pitches, when you bunt the first pitch, it's going to be on the middle of the plate away. Cheat. Get right on that plate lean over the plate, and it'll make it a little easier to get your bat on the ball. He's pretty close.
Here's what I want to know, because it seems as though more pitchers more than ever, are a little timid about getting themselves in the position you're talking about. If you're leaning out over the plate and you're close to the plate and the ball does come inside, do they know how to get it out of the way?
It's scary. I'm telling you, I've had it happen. I've been hit in the head before. It's scary, but that's part of the competition. You got to give that up. That being said, there's a lot more hard throwers today than there ever were in my day.
And that one goes to the backstop, so no sacrifice necessary. Record down to second. A cutter that cut a little too much for Jonathan Solano.
Well, if you're a catcher, and I know he plays part-time, but you have to know, too, that the pitcher is trying to throw a pitch that's wild enough to try to get the strikeout. You got to be ready for that.
A wild pitch charge to Phelps. So now runner at second and 1 out. So the bunt is not in play, and yet the corners stay in for the Marlins, which is very odd. No reason to be bunting here.
They should be taking this over, back everyone up.
And Colon drives one to center field. That's a base hit, and it gets by Suzuki and rolls all the way to the wall. Wrecker scores. Colon jogs into second with an RBI double. The most exciting at bat in baseball. His second career extra base hit. And Colon drives in a run to put the Mets in front 2-1.
Well, a legit bullet here. And playing awfully shallow with Suzuki, and he couldn't get there in time. Colon had a triple if he wanted it. He decided, I'd rather not. Let me just get to second base and break it on down. I got a few more outs to get on the mound.
He's gotten worn out on the bases before. He doesn't want to have that happen again.
Legit good swing by Colon. Infielders in, looking for a bunt. Are you kidding me? Instead, a run-scoring double.
I'm going to have to go back to that in a minute. Granderson takes outside 1-1 because it was fantastic watching Colon drill that ball and get it by Ichiro and the whole thing. But how does a major league team not know that with a runner at second and 1 out, there's not going to be a bunt?
People fall asleep at the wheel. We always tend to think that everything is all buttoned up. You know, we got the shifts, we got the sabermetrics, we got all of the writing on the wall of the Marlins dugout. They got more computer printouts than you've ever seen in your entire life. And they don't know the game of baseball, which is when there's a guy on second and the pitcher's up and there's 1 out, you back up. He's swinging the bat. Let's go. It's nonsense.
Baseball 101. I mean, that shouldn't require anybody to give it a moment's thought. 1-2 to Granderson, and the curveball misses badly. 2-2. Well, Colon does nothing if not entertain his teammates. Wilmer wanted to go for 3.
He had 3 in his pocket.
Oh, yeah. He might have been able to make the turn and think about going all the way. That might have been the home run call right there.
Is there a defibrillator in where they have the headsets are for the replays?
See, now the part that Bartolo did not compute in his head as he was breaking it down to go to second was if he had continued his way around the bases and gotten the inside the park home run, he could be resting right now.
I think what he was thinking is if I get the third with 1 out, I might have to tag up in 2 seconds for a sacrifice flag. That's a sacrifice fly. That's way too much. Let me just stay at second.
Granderson rips one to right at Gordon, and Colon able to move back into second. That's good base running by Bartolo. A bullet off the bat of Granderson for the second out.
Well, Colon only has about a 4-foot lead anyway, so not a long way to get back to that base, but still good not to get doubled off.
Said to Solano something along the lines of, I'm really not used to this. Well, I have to give Bartolo credit for this. I think he has done so much hard work to prepare himself to take these at bats.
Listen, every athlete is a proud player. And that's a beautiful swing there by Colon. And he knows that it had been an embarrassment when he went to the plate. And he wanted to get better at it. And he worked at it. And he's been much better this year than last year.
He said in spring training his goal was 3 hits this year. Well, it's already there, and we're only 2 months into the season. Tejada checks the swing and fouls it off.
Got to reset his marks.
Really? Well, he had a double last year, remember, in St. Louis. Yeah. First extra base hit of his career, and this is the second.
See, if he had gone for 3, he could go for the career cycle.
I just don't know what his top speed is. I don't think we've ever seen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if he did run as hard as he could, how far could he have gone? 1-2 to Tejada. His heart rate is already down to 35.
At his age, I was already 7 years out of the league. It tells you how special he is. And still pitching at a high level.
And learning a new craft at age 41, 42. Time had been called. Phelps was ready to deliver that pitch, and he's a little annoyed.
But he's annoyed because it was called so late, but hang with him. That's how it goes.
Tejada grounded out to third his first at bat. By the way, how close is Phelps coming to balking? Doesn't look like he's stopping at all.
Yeah, he's very, very close. And I'm surprised that in between innings you wouldn't see Terry Collins come out and say to the home plate umpire, hey, listen, take a look at this kid. You know, he's not stopping. Same thing they did with opposing teams did when Buddy Carlisle was pitching for the Mets.
It's funny because he takes so much time between the pitches, but when he gets down to the belt, he's in a big rush. And he misses with a curveball, and Tejada works it to 2-2. Well, the fascinating thing here with 2 outs is what happens if Tejada gets a base hit. Colon will be running with the crack of the bat, but would he even think about trying to score on an outfield single?
You know, you've got 2 out of the 3 arms out there are outstanding, and 1 is very accurate for the Marlins.
Tejada tries to find the gap in right center, but cutting over Stanton, and he makes the catch. Ball was slicing back to Stanton, and Colon, who was running it out, will go back to the mound with a lead thanks to his second career double. Went hard to first and broke it down the next 90. Thrilling moment for Colon and the Mets fans. 2-1 Mets after 2.
house, just pay attention. You know, he doesn't have to say a word. If you're just a guy, if you're just a player in there, or a pitcher especially, pay attention. I mean, there's a reason why this guy's pitched for 19 years. And if you can do nothing else except learn how he goes about things mentally. Now, isn't that, you don't have to copy, don't copy him physically, but just how he gets ready to pitch every night. I think it's going to help your career.
I love the smirk from Terry when he said that.
Terry's pressers, there's always one little anecdote in there that's worth it, and that certainly was one there.
Emulate him in every way, just don't copy him physically.
Did you get an exit velocity on the double?
96 miles an hour.
So harder than anything he throws?
Well, by a factor of how many?
4. He throws at 92, 93, right? Once in a while.
Occasionally, yeah. When he gets in trouble. Not quite Stanton, but very impressive. The oldest pitcher to hit a double since Randy Johnson 7 years ago. D. Gordon leads off in the third. We'll see how the trip on the bases affects Colon, because it has had a deleterious effect a couple of times in recent days. Gordon dumped a single into center field leading off the game, and Colon did a great job of keeping him from even thinking about stealing a base. This one's dunked to shallow left, but Mayberry lays out and makes the catch. Well, Gordon dumped one in front of Lagares' first trip, but Mayberry able to lumber in and make the diving grab.
You know, we always talk about the shift against left-handed hitters where they overload the right side. The shifts of the outfielders playing shallower and shallower are going to start taking hits away from D. Gordon, especially when you make a fine play like Mayberry did right there.
Well, the Marlins, as this game is going on, getting more and more aggressive with Colon. He's thrown just 9 pitches to the last 5 batters. Martin Prado takes a strike. Prado lined out to second base his first time up. Slow ground ball for Murphy. And he throws out Prado 2 away. That'll get Stanton to the plate with the bases empty. Today's high-speed pitch comes from Time Warner Cable. Enjoy better. Maybe we should substitute his exit velocity.
Yeah, that's what you should. You'd appreciate that.
So here's Stanton, who looked as bad as he can possibly look in getting jammed and fouling out to the catcher his first time up.
I love Colon's approach, though. Keep pounding him in. See if he.
Easy fly ball for Granderson. And so a very fast inning for Colon. Took him just 5 pitches to retire the Marlins 1-2-3. Now he can rest again. 2-1 New York. It's KBB.com's lowest cost to own brand over 5 years. Wind blowing out. Wasn't necessary to help Bartolo Colon with his go-ahead double in the last inning.
You know, I'm a voyeur on Twitter. It's just to see, you know, what the beat writers are thinking about and other people that I really respect. And sometimes you get retweets that you love. And one of the retweets today, Jerry Blevins, Bartolo is my favorite player.
Lucas Duda leads off. Duda got drilled in the knee his first time up and came in to score the first run of the game. And Marlins alternate their shortstop and third baseman after the first pitch. They had Prado on the left side, guarding against the potential of a Duda bunt. But after the first strike, he goes over to the right side, and Solano's alone on the left. Duda taking a shot at left field, but he fouls it off 0-2. Daniel Murphy on deck, and then Wilmer Flores. Phelps gave up an unearned run in the first, and then got shocked by Colon's double in the second. Cooling down on a humid afternoon.
Usually the trainers on a day like this tell you after the pitch. They have it's called ammonia water. They put some ammonia in the water, and then they put a wet towel over your head and your back of your neck. Greatest feeling you can ever have on a warm day.
Better than a 5-pitch inning?
Not better than that. No, of course not.
Well, Phelps diddling around with Duda. Fell behind 0-2. Now he's run it full. It's another way.
Smart.
Full count to Lucas. And he takes strike 3 called. He didn't think so. Changeup from Phelps that caught the inside corner for his second strikeout.
It's that high changeup that's very rarely called this time. Definitely catches enough of the plate. I think Lucas thought it was too high. It was. If you ask a hitter, you'll say, "Where was that pitch?" I don't know where that pitch was, but it was ugly. Just an ugly pitch.
Didn't feel like a strike.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's Murphy, who singled through the hole into right his first time up.
This is a good time to pitch this generation of players. The strike zone just seems bigger to me. It's a theme, you know, one of the themes that every year there's a different theme that plays out. And that to me is one of the big themes, is that the strike zone, the aggressiveness of the umpires calling strikes has increased exponentially.
Which certainly has enhanced pitching, which is already ascendant in the game.
I don't know what time of game is. It's gotten better so far this year? Yeah.
Now, run scoring is up, and home runs are up slightly from last year, which is interesting. Murphy hooks one down the line, foul.
More strikes to throw.
But every study that I've seen analyzing, and now with computer models, you can look at every pitch and where it was and what it was called, and the studies that have been done show that the strike zone is expanding down. That the pitch at the bottom of the strike zone or just below the strike zone gets a little bigger every year.
Well, that's a huge advantage to the pitcher, because the pitch down in the strike zone not only is difficult to hit, you can't elevate it, you usually hit it on the ground, which is not good, and even more importantly, it's the furthest way from your eye, so it's hard to see. It's hard to put the bat on it solidly.
Hard for the hitter to say, also hard for the umpire to see. So a lot of that is guesswork. And we talk about how the umpire would say a left-hand hitter up is setting up inside the catcher, and so the outside corner is a long way away from him. But at the same time, the bottom part of the strike zone is far away.
The pitch down is much easier for the catcher to steal a strike than it is up.
And you and I have watched that during spring training. The catchers teaching one another how to grab that low strike by keeping that glove turned down and still catch the ball.
Keep it turned down, and you have to have an extremely strong and stiff wrist to hold it there. Don't let it drag your arm down. Drag your hand down.
Murphy bounces it foul. Long turn at bat here for Murph. Well, this is by decade and half decade. But if you compare 2014 to 2015, runs are up slightly from last year. But the general trend in the game this decade, in I guess what can loosely be called the post-steroid era, is that runs are down. And Murphy putting on a marathon here against Phelps, who was already throwing way too many pitches early in this game.
It's the we're watching you era of baseball.
Doesn't mean we're always catching you, but we're at least watching.
Well, it's kind of a gotcha world right now, guys.
Well, you lurk on Twitter, you know. 10th pitch of the at-bat coming to Murph, and he hits one right back to Phelps, who snags it for the out.
Well, sometimes a fielder catches the ball. Sometimes the ball catches a fielder. Phelps has no idea what he's doing, just drops his glove, and the ball goes right in the glove. Ticketed for center field, and a base hit for Murph ends up being a line to one.
Hit a sinker. So Phelps with a chance for his first 1-2-3 inning as he takes on Wilmer Flores, who looked like he had made the final out of the first, but his ground ball went right under the glove of Bourne. He drives this one deep left field. Yelich back near the wall. It's out of here.
Number 8 for Wilmer Flores, and the Mets lead 3-1.
We saw Wilmer Flores in his first at-bat have some great cuts and just miss hitting one like this, and he didn't miss it in his second at-bat.
It was not a bad curveball, was it?
Little cutter slider away, but it's probably the fourth one he's seen in 2 at-bats.
Now Mayberry has struck out his first time up.
Tattoos, no good.
Got 2 cracks out.
Yeah, just a hanging little breaking ball. No need to look at that. Ball's carrying a bit today.
And he's not used to giving up home runs. He hadn't given up any till his last start. Gave up 2 in Pittsburgh, and now the third one is off the bat of Flores.
So maybe the tattoo guy can get a tattoo that says "I almost got it."
Or maybe you get a tattoo of the seams on your finger.
There you go. That's even better.
1-2 to Mayberry. That's past the mound. Phelps can't kick it, but Solano gets to it and throws out Mayberry to end the inning. But the Mets extend their picket fence, a run in each of the first 3 innings. Home run by Flores makes it 3-1. drive responsibly. Wilmer Flores' home run makes it 3-1 New York. By the way, Flores now has 15 career home runs, 5 of them against the Marlins.
Well, he and Tejada on the left side. I think Tejada has 7 RBIs this year, 6 of them against the Marlins. So
this is the Mets' 10th game against Miami this
already.
year. Justin Bour struck out his first time up. So now Colon with a 2-run lead to work with. And he quickly falls behind on board 2-0. Ichiro Suzuki on deck, and then Donovan Solano for the Marlins in the 4th.
No shift or real shift on Bour. Exaggerated shift. Why? Haven't seen him enough.
Flies one out to left, and Mayberry is there. One away. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Ichiro, who singled up the middle and scored the Miami run in the 2nd inning. Well, if you combine his U.S. Major League hits and his NPB hits in Japan, he now has 4,155 total hits in his career. Popped up. Tejada waiting for it to come down, and quickly 2 out.
It was interesting there. If you saw that pop up, Tejada did a great job getting side saddled on it so he could get it, kind of the glare of the sun out of his eyes. But what you have to do if you're an infielder and even the pitcher, start to go near him just in case he loses the baseball. You're there to try to help him out.
Souvenir of the day at the ballpark.
That's a good shot.
Well, Colon's now retired 8 in a row. Donovan Solano, the last man to crack him, had a hit and run single that set up the Marlins run in the 2nd. And Colon doing it with a minimum of sweat right now. 36 pitches with 2 out in the 4th. Two biggest things that have made him sweat today: Gordon getting aboard to start the game. He had to do a lot of hard work on him, and then of course legging out his double. Well, at least the first half of it.
And the gum. Chewing of the gum is 3rd.
Just off the plate to Solano at 93. Hardest pitch Bartolo's thrown today. That was almost up to his exit velocity. Christian Yelich would be next. And he strikes out Solano to end the inning. 2nd strikeout of the day for Bartolo. He's now retired 9 in a row, and now his real work begins. Back to the plate. He had that double last year in St. Louis. He's always entertaining, and today, his 2nd career double. What will he do for an encore? Find out next. out west after the game today. Open their series in San Diego tomorrow night. 3 at Petco Park, 4 in Phoenix, and the Mets come home to play the Giants a week from Tuesday. Juan Lagares leads off in the home fourth and takes ball 1. Mets will have Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, and Dylan G pitching in San Diego as the 6-man rotation begins.
G gets Shields. Is he undefeated still?
Still is, 6-0. Cashner tomorrow night. Hard thrower is 2-7 with a 3 ERA. How does that happen? And Ian Kennedy, who's been awful, goes Tuesday night. Padres are a very strange team to me. I mean, they brought in all that talent in the offseason. They scored a ton of runs early in the season, and it hasn't worked. I mean, they're 3 games under 500.
Well, they brought in so many new faces. Sometimes it takes some time to gel. But don't forget, those Dodgers and Giants are pretty good in that division. You play them a lot. They're not fooling around.
Well, Matt Kemp got off to an awesome start. That was part of all those runs they scored early in the season. They're still 3rd in the league in runs scored, but Kemp has fallen off a cliff the last month. 277 on base percentage. He has 1 home run for the season. The only guy who really has performed, at least numbers wise, among all the offensive talent they brought in is Justin Upton.
Yeah.
Too high, 3-2. There's the standings up to the moment. The Diamondbacks have been playing much better lately, and they have moved past the Padres in the standings.
And the Rockies have been playing better to get their record closer to 500.
Well, they lost 11 in a row.
Yeah.
The thing about the Padres is they don't really have a shortstop. And they'll use Amarista, they'll use Farmas, and with Will Myers out, they don't really have a center fielder. Playing Will Venable.
That's right. The Princeton kid has been playing there. 2 seasons ago, he had a breakout year.
8th pitch to Lagares, and he fouls off another one. And Phelps' pitch count continues to skyrocket with all these long at-bats. And their pitching has been very inconsistent.
Well, Cashner, though, I will tell you, is a good example of a guy who's pitched well, who's got no run support.
Right.
He's a guy that can throw a shutout at you. I mean, that's how good he is.
The guy who's gone backwards this year is Tyson Ross. He was an all-star last year. He's walking too many.
He's a slider master, and he has not been throwing it enough for strikes. And when you throw enough sliders, guys start laying off. They've seen it enough.
And then there's the odd case of Craig Kimbrell, who has a 5 ERA. Who would have ever thought that would happen?
Kimbrell, Kennedy and Ross last year won 26 games between them. That's not the case this year. Kennedy has struggled also after coming off the DL.
Lagares putting on a marathon here. Murphy had a 9-pitch at bat. Lagares has already seen 10. So it's going to be interesting to see the Padres because they really have made so many changes. They should get their first baseman Yonder Alonso back soon. I don't know if in time for the Mets series. Lagares drives one to right, chasing Stanton back, and he makes the catch and then smacks the wall hard. Boy, Stanton has made some really terrific plays in this series. It was a great at bat for Lagares and a better play by Stanton.
Well, we've seen him make some outstanding plays all series long. No fear. Stanton runs right into the S.
S for Superman.
And the wall says ouch. You see a lot of guys with his kind of power develop into one-dimensional players. He's just the opposite. He's gotten better defensively.
Anthony Recker had a base hit, advanced in a wild pitch, and then laughed his way home on Cologne's double. That was the run that put the Mets in front in this game. And Phelps falls behind him 2-0. So what's he thinking?
Cologne?
He can triple, home run, or take 3 pitches and go back to the mound.
He's thinking about Yelich, Phelps, and Solano. That's what he's thinking about. Probably a good idea.
Striker pops one up. Prado calling for it. 2 out.
You know, we tend to, because he's become the everyman for the fan watching Bartolo. I'll shut up as you hear the ovation for him. Greatest value he has, competes. When he goes out there, he competes, whether it's at the plate, on the mound. It's mano a mano for him.
Well, if you're wondering, Colon is at a 2-hit game in his career. It was 13 years ago. Grounds that one past the mound, but Solano is there to play it. And this time Bartolo is retired. But he keeps making contact. Now we'll head back to the mound. Someone's having a good time. He's got one of the RBIs, and he's worked to a very low pitch count through the first 4. And one of Bartolo's big fans bopping along to the Beatles. Well, All-Star balloting is underway. You can vote up to 35 times on the 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot at Mets.com. Voting is exclusively online and available on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. Vote at Mets.com now. Christian Yelich leads off against Colon in the 5th. Bartolo's retired 9 in a row. Yelich drove in the Miami run with a fielder's choice in the 2nd. It was more than just a fielder's choice. It was a tremendous play by Wilmer Flores on a ball that was hit hard to his right with runners at 1st and 3rd. If that ball gets by Flores, that could be a very different inning. Instead, the Marlins got just the 1 run. So Colon, who required 16 pitches to get through the 1st inning, has been incredibly efficient since then. Look at that.
Wow.
That's how you get deep into games. And interesting to note that Colon has not thrown more than 97 pitches in a start this season. Last year, he was routinely going over 100. But he hasn't done it yet this year.
This Yelich is very close. The Mets are lucky he's leaving town after today.
Pitcher Phelps is on deck. You see, last year 14 times he went over 100 pitches. But you know, he's 42 now, and at some point, and you know, the Mets certainly hope it's not this year or any time in the foreseeable future, but at some point everybody's got an expiration date.
He's trying to portray it. I mean, amazing.
First 3-ball count of the game, but Colon makes it 3-2.
Those are the little pitches. You see him shaking his head. That's going against Yelich. He thought that was ball 4. call the strike.
Three-two coming. And he whacks one into right center for a base hit. Granderson will cut it off deep, but Yelich heads for second and makes it easily with a leadoff double. First extra base hit of the day against Cologne.
I mean, all over this pitch. Splits the gap. Granderson gets on top of it. Gets to it. But watch how he gets on top of this high fastball. Beautiful swing there by Yelich. And he can fly. I said it before when he legged out a double play ball at first. Long strides.
So a runner at second and nobody out. The pitcher Phelps sitting in the 8 hole, so the Mets look for the bunt. And Phelps needs a conversation with his third base coach, Lenny Harris.
New third base coach. Brett Butler was there before. New third base coach here.
And the reason they made the change was because apparently there was some difficulty in relaying signs from the dugout to the third base coach to the batter. Stuff that dated back to last year and became an issue again this year. And so they made the change this past week. Of course, the third base coach switch made in the wake of the managerial change that the Marlins made, bringing their general manager Dan Jennings out of the office and into the dugout. Butler is still on the staff as the outfield and base running coach. Phelps gets a nice bunt down, and Recker's play is to first base. 2-4 on the sacrifice, and Phelps has his 4th sacrifice of the season.
Picture perfect there by Mr. Phelps. Good angle of the bat, pinching it. See how he angles that towards third base. He could bunt it a little harder, but never mind. Just perfect bunt to get Yelich over.
So a runner at third and 1 out. Mets will play the infield back with a 2-run lead. And Jonathan Solano, the number 9 hitter, will bat. This might be Solano's last day in the big leagues for a while. The regular backup catcher for the Marlins, Jeff Mathis, is due to come off the disabled list probably tomorrow. So Solano getting a start today, but JT Realmuto is going to be the number 1 guy for them, and probably for a long time to come. D. Gordon waiting on deck. Solano grounded into a fielder's choice his first time up. And he lifts that one foul.
First pitch slider away for a strike. Second pitch 93 miles an hour on the black and the knees.
Well, runner at third, 1 out. Cologne, who has only struck out 2 today, in a spot where he could use a strikeout.
We've seen him do a couple of things to get strikeouts. Not go up. Sometimes throws that fastball away that comes back over to split the outside part of the plate. Sometimes he comes inside and runs one underneath the hands. Boy, that has some movement, doesn't it?
Well, it moved Solano.
So you double up or does he go back outside? He wants something that's not a strike that he'll swing at. You need the strikeout.
Gets the chopper. The run will come home. The play by Tejada in time to get Solano as Yelich comes home with the second Miami run. It's now 3-2 New York. Cologne almost got to that ball before Tejada did.
I don't know what he would have done with it, though. That's the only problem. If he would have got to it earlier, you think maybe come home. Right there, just let Tejada make the play. You have to say good at bat by Jonathan Solano, though. To get that ball, you put it in play, you never know what can happen.
And good base running by Yelich. He read it all the way. So now it's 3-2 New York, and D. Gordon bats with 2 out and nobody on. Gordon is 1 for 2 today. He's hit 2 dunkers shallow in the outfield. One fell, and the other was caught on a dive by Mayberry.
Really thought in this game today he would try once to pull that bunt towards the right side and beat Colon to first base. With 2 outs, though, trying to hit a double.
He's got 10 doubles and 2 triples this year amongst his 77 hits. No home runs, though, and unless he hits a home run today, he'll become the first player in modern history since 1900 with this many hits by the end of May and no home runs. Whose record will he have broken? His teammate, Ichiro. That's through the hole, and Gordon's got himself yet another hit.
Well, when you spray the ball, you cannot have any kinds of shifts. That opens up the entire field. Now you say to yourself a little bit, is it luck that he's hitting all these holes? Well, the ball hit hard enough to get past Murphy. Huge out right here at this time in the ball game.
Well, you've got Prado at the plate, who's a tough mark. You got Gordon on first, and if you're Colon, he paid so much attention to him in the first inning in a scoreless game. How much attention do you pay now with a 1-run lead?
He has stopped his big lead. His lead is tiny at first base. I think that with a run down, keep that right side open for Prado, and somehow, some way, get the big right fielder up to the plate. That's what his thought is. That's a full step shorter lead.
Colon threw over so many times in that first inning. One of them he nearly got the call, and the Mets challenged, only to have the call stand. But it did appear at some point as though Gordon was a little shaken up getting back into first base. And you're right, that lead is much shorter.
Let's see if he takes one more step. He does not.
Prado bangs one down to Tejada, and he'll go to first base with it to retire the side. So the Marlins scratch out a run, but no more. Halfway through on a Sunday at Citi Field. Mets 3, Marlins 2. The club, best seat in the house.
That first shot, I thought it was the Louvre.
They're your starters for. Did I am paid? Design Citi Field?
You couldn't have.
They're your starters for the series with the Padres. DeGrom, Syndergaard, and G as the Mets go to the 6-man rotation against Cashner, Kennedy, and Shields. And for more on the Padres, let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Well, Gary, when you talk about Cashner and Kennedy, you're talking about 2 guys with 2 wins apiece, but could not be pitching more differently, as you two alluded to a little bit earlier. Start with Cashner. Gary, you asked the question, how's a guy 2-7 with a 3 ERA? Here's how. He's gotten absolutely no run support, the worst run support in the league. In between his first 2 wins, as Granderson pops out. 6 starts, a total of 3 runs his team scored for him in those 6 starts in between his first 2 wins of the season. As for Ian Kennedy, he has just been awful. A 7.15 ERA. He's given up almost 3 home runs per 9 innings. And the real concerning thing with Kennedy, his velocity. It's really dipping. Last start, it was below 90 at times.
It's been such a fascinating case the last few years since he had that big season in Arizona.
Won 21 games, didn't he, in Arizona?
There's Ruben Tejada, who's 0 for 2, grounded out and flied out. And he slugs one to center, and Ichiro has plenty of room. And there are 2 away.
There used to be a phrase, Gary, when, and I'll use it against Ruben. I don't mean it against Ruben, but when you're on the bench and a guy like Ruben, a middle infielder, kind of hitter, will hit the ball pretty good to center field, you'd go, oh, it's all right, little guy.
Well, you know, we've talked about it ad nauseum with Ruben over the last 4 or 5 years. That's what he's got to eliminate from his game if he ever wants to get back to being a regular player. We've seen the last couple of days what he's capable of.
He's had a good series.
If he hits line drives.
Yeah, he's had an outstanding series, I think.
Duda was hit by a pitch and scored in the first. Took a call, 3rd strike in the 3rd. Phelps trying to settle in. He's retired 6 in a row since Flores hit the home run in the 3rd. Mets have had some hard hit balls, but Phelps has been able to survive. However, his pitch count up over 90 working in the 5th inning. Threw 98 and 6 in his last start in Pittsburgh. And the changeup off the plate to Duda, 2-1. You know, going back to the Padres and their pitching, I saw a stat today that I almost couldn't believe. Tyson Ross, who talked he's struggling after an all-star season last year. You know, he's already given up 21 stolen bases. 21 stolen bases in 2 months.
That's almost impossible for a whole season. I know that their everyday catcher Derek Norris does not particularly throw the ball well, but still.
Duda gets jammed, but hits it out to left center and overcomes Yelich to pick it off for the out. So a 1-2-3 inning for Phelps, who's now retired 7 in a row. We've played 5 now at Citi Field with the Mets up 3-2. Afternoon. It's a great shot across the 59th Street Bridge.
Talk about tall buildings. Here comes Stanton.
He can leap him in a single bound. We know that. Stanton leads off in the 6th inning, 0 for 2 today. Fouled out and flied out to right. And Colon comes inside for ball one. Stanton, Bohr, and Suzuki in a one-run game. Colon, unlike Phelps, has kept his pitch count very low today. To center field, Lagares should have room. And a sigh of relief. One out. Anytime he swings the bat and gets the ball up in the air to the outfield, you hold your breath.
I mean, that's 2 balls now. The one to right field and the prior at bat, and this one to center field. You know, that's what, 700 foot of outs? More than that. 750. He was mad when he made an out on that one. In fact, sprinted back across the field.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Justin Bohr, who struck out and flied out, 0 for 2.
It's interesting that, remember the pitch that Harvey threw on the first game of the series? A little slider, first pitch inside. Bohr turned on it. Colon's been going mostly.
And Bohr cracks one to deep right center field. Lagares looks up, and this game is tied. Justin Bohr with his second home run of the series. He's homered now in 3 straight games. Didn't play yesterday. And the Marlins have come back to tie it at 3. It's a big, strong guy, 27 years old, finally getting a chance to play in the big leagues, and he has taken full advantage.
Well, I was going to say how Colon has used his intelligence by running the ball away with fastballs and changeups, but he decided to come in again. And just a little cutter inside that stayed in the middle of the plate, and this kid just got tremendous power.
You know, Michael Morse went on the disabled list with a finger injury, and Justin Bohr may not give this job back. Here's Ichiro Suzuki, and he takes a strike. Bohr now with 5 home runs and 64 at bats, and homers now in 3 straight games. He was a 25th round draft pick out of George Mason by the Cubs. Marlins got him 2 winters ago in the Rule 5 draft. Played very little, mostly pinch hitting last year, and finally getting an opportunity. And boy, he has really taken advantage. Flores throws out Suzuki for the second out.
I think I mentioned it yesterday. He has in his book now this season stopped a no-hitter by Shelby Miller, and he's got Harvey, Cole, and Jordan Zimmerman in his book to go along with now Bartolo Colon.
11th home run that Bartolo has given up this year. 2 out and nobody on. Now Donovan Solano, who's 1 for 2, a hit and run single back in the second. It's going to take a while to find out how for real Justin Bohr is, but what a 1-2 combo they can have in that 3 and 4 hole if he keeps going the way he's going. As bad as the Marlins have been, this could be a very scary team in a month or 2.
Yeah, when they get their pitching back and they get their stud Jose Fernandez back, who is just starting his rehabilitation process. So Bohr let one in, he hit one out, plus minus. Got the hockey going on, so.
The NHL is half happy.
Half happy, yeah.
They got one of the original 6 in the final. Look at that. 10 homers in 7 games in this ballpark. 13 and 25 in their enormous home park. They're one of the few teams that comes here and says, hey, this is a bandbox. 1-2 to Solano. I mean, that place is massive. And you wonder with Stanton there, will they ever think about moving the fences in? Or are they just going to leave it the way it is and figure Stanton can hit them over everything? Which he does.
Well, it's not Stanton you have to worry about. It's guys like Justin Bohr and others, that you might want to bring into play more often with their power. Not that he can't hit it out of any ballpark either. that's really been the Achilles heel for Cologne. It's the 11 home runs now given up. It's over the course of a year, that's a 25 to 30 home run season. That's a lot of home runs to give up.
Unless you're Bert Blylow. You have a 51 year.
In the Homer Dome.
2-2 coming. And Solano fouls back.
Robin Roberts would routinely lead the league in giving up home runs when he was in his heyday with the Phillies in the 50s.
As he always said, there's nobody on base. Just counts for one. And that's the key. Catfish Hunter was a home run guy.
That's right. Really the difference in this series has been the 2 3-run home runs. The one by Bohr, day number 1, and Real Muto yesterday.
Again, the 2-2. And Solano lifts one to right. Easy for Granderson. And that retires the side, but not before the Marlins tie it. Justin Bohr with his second home run of the series. And his 5th of the year. He wins that heavyweight matchup and ties up the game at 3 as we go to the bottom of the 6th. This month at Dodger Stadium. Hit it off the top of the pavilion roof and beyond. There have only been a handful of players who've ever done that.
Stargell did it a couple of times. Piazza did it. McGuire had done it. I don't remember that home run.
Well, Mets start from scratch. They had a 3-1 lead. Now 3-3 as we start the bottom of the 6th. Murphy's hit 2 balls hard today, a base hit and a liner back to the pitcher. And Phelps comes inside. See how far they push David Phelps today. 96 pitches after his first 2 pitches here in the 6th. They had bullpen action up momentarily, but it's not up now. 1-2.
He'll stay. He's still throwing the ball pretty good.
Steve Cishek looked like he was getting up. But Prickett's down there now.
It's a big inning for Phelps and the Marlins. To get him through 6, they'll be very happy.
Hasn't thrown more than 100 pitches in a game this year, and he just misses away. 2-2 to Murphy. Flores and Mayberry to follow for the Mets. Murphy pops it up. And Prado makes the call as Murph mutters his way down to first base. 1 out.
Outstanding audio, boys.
Yeah, maybe too good.
Oh, well.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Wilmer Flores, who's had himself a fine afternoon. Tremendous play in the field. And his 8th home run of the year, his last time up. By the way, you mentioned Paul Goldschmidt had another home run today.
Who's he, by the way? What position does he play?
This was Flores.
Flores has proven a couple of things. He's a good breaking ball hitter, and he's quick inside.
Lifts this one to right, and Stanton is right there. And so Phelps has now retired 9 in a row since the Flores home run. Nice recovery by Phelps.
The picket fence is stalled, Gary. Where's Tom Sawyer?
Well, he needs to get somebody to help. He wasn't going to paint that fence by himself. So Phelps now at a season high with 101 pitches. He'll face Mayberry with 2 out and nobody on. John getting his first start against a right-hander, and he struck out and grounded out 0 for 2. We have seen this before this year, haven't we, where the Mets put together some nice offense early in a game and then go into that stall mid-game.
It's almost like the other team's pitcher makes a little better adjustment than they have within the framework of the game, or maybe it's just happenstance. You know, they've gotten such good pitching, especially early in the season. It's almost like we've scored 3 or 4 runs. Game should be over with the pitching we've got.
Not enough.
Well, you always have to add on runs. That's what separates the real good teams from the excellent teams.
Mayberry lines it to right, but right at Stanton. And that retires the side. 10 in a row retired by David Phelps. Mets are done in the bottom of the 6th. On to the 7th, tied at 3. As we go to the 7th. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Time Warner Cable. Enjoy more shows on more screens. Time Warner Cable. Enjoy better. Christian Yelich leads off the 7th inning against Bartolo Colon. The pitcher Phelps is due up 2nd in the inning, and for the moment he has come out on deck. Phelps has really kicked it in gear, but he's up to 104 pitches. So we'll see what happens here as to whether he bats. Yelich doubled his last time up, and he lifts this one toward the left field corner. Over goes Mayberry, and he gets there for the out. And with that, Phelps will go back to the dugout. If Yelich had gotten on, they would have left Phelps in, presumably to bunt. But now he's coming out of the game. Steve Cishek getting ready, and Marcell Ozuna will come up to pinch hit for Phelps. So Phelps didn't start well, but he certainly finished strong. Retired his last 10 hitters. And now Marcell Ozuna getting the day off will be the pinch hitter. Ozuna 1 for 9 in this series.
starts him off with a little cutter for a strike. Cologne trying for his 8th victory of the season. Only one big league pitcher has 8 wins this year, and that's Felix Hernandez. The other thing that Cologne is trying to do is win his 4th game in May. He won 4 in April. Only 2 Met pitchers have ever done that. Win 4 games in April and 4 games in May. Jerry Koosman did it. Bobby Jones did it.
It's amazing to me. But you pointed out that the season used to start a little later in April.
Right, so it would have been harder to do. But it's amazing that Seaver never did it. Doc never did it. You never did it. Matlack never did it. Coney. I mean, there's so many guys who could have done it. Frank Viola, I would have thought, would have, because he got off to that great start in 1990 when he won 20. I think he was 7-0 to start that season. Well, that's something apparently they're selling in the Southern Cal bookstore now. The Tom Seaver replica USC jersey.
That is smoking.
Now, I never knew that Seaver wore 37 as a Trojan. And maybe he didn't. I don't know. We'll have to do some more research.
I know he's not the class of 37. Not that old.
You don't want to lay that on.
It's amazing how many older, I shouldn't say older, but that is a big thing when you're 35 plus to have the jerseys of all different, whether it's Seavers or LeBron James, or I have a buddy that has every single conceivable jersey you could have, wears them daily.
See, what I find fascinating about this, see some of the jerseys around the ballpark. If Seaver really did wear 37 in college, he couldn't have worn it as a Met because Casey Stengel wore 37. Right. And they had already put the number out of circulation. Not sure if it had been officially retired. And it's hit to right, and Granderson steadies. And Ozuna retired for the second out. And Casey left the job in 1965. Seaver was a rookie in 67. So if he did wear 37 in college and wanted it here, he couldn't have had it.
Come on.
What's with the Oregon Ducks jersey?
Who's directing our broadcast today?
That's right.
D-Bar. I hear you.
Yeah, he comes by it honestly.
Air Coryell, I loved it. I didn't know the Oregon days. There's Keith.
The only one that matters. Just ask him. Right back to Cologne. And he retires Jonathan Solano. 1-2-3 inning for Cologne in the top of the 7th. Stretch time at Citi Field. Lagares to lead off. It's all tied at 3. You never know. The Mike Piazza ticket package is perfect for groups of 15 or more. Get a field level seat and a Mike Piazza replica jersey for just $40 per ticket. For more information, visit Mets.com/Piazza. Play of the game brought to you by Honda. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda now at your Honda dealer. Well, that was special. Bartolo Colon's second career extra base hit. Could have had a triple, maybe an inside the park home run, but he settled for an RBI double. And that certainly was special. Colon's got 7 good innings. It's a 3-3 game, and I think it's time for our daily check-in with our recuperating partner, Mr. Hernandez, via satellite. They have moved the body cast to the beach.
Sunday margarita, you got to have it. I think he's more of a mezcal guy, but I love that the bird is so comfortable.
I want to know who hired the plane. Was that our SNY folks, or did Keith hire that himself?
No, on the back it says, "Come see us at Margaritas for happy hour." So they use it for both ways.
So he's a tag along, is what you're saying.
I love that the full body cast for the labrum surgery has now become the in thing.
Well, Steve Cishek will take over the pitching as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning.
Well, you know, this young man was so important to this staff. 34 and 39 saves respectively over 2 seasons, and this season has just been a drag for him so far as he tries to find himself here in 7th inning.
Lost his closer's job. A.J. Ramos has picked that up, and Ramos has been tremendous the last 2 days, and it makes you wonder, especially with Ramos having gone 4 outs yesterday, if the Marlins need a closer today, who's it going to be?
You know, the problem with Cishek is that even in his great days, as Ozuna stays in the ballgame, even in his great moments, he always struggled against the Mets. He had 11 saves lifetime against them, but his ERA well over 5 against the Metropolitans.
So Ichiro comes out as Ozuna stays in the game in center. That means the pitcher will hit in the 5-hole. Juan Lagares leads off in the home 7th and takes a fastball for a strike.
Yeah, those are the numbers. 33 games, 11 saves, lots of decisions.
Well, the Mets certainly contributed to Cishek losing that closer's job earlier this year. Daniel Murphy took him deep in a game in Miami in the 9th inning to bust up a save chance this year. And that really helped him in his downward spiral.
You want to say he throws from down under. He doesn't really. He's a tall guy that kind of drops his body and throws a little from the side.
No swing by Lagares. 1-2.
He's more from the side now than he ever was before. I wonder if that's the adjustment that he's had to make this season.
And Lagares lines one the other way for a base hit. That's twice in a row Lagares has hit the ball hard to the opposite field. Stanton made a very good catch the last time, and now leadoff hit for Juan.
Problem with Cishek is that against right-handed hitters, doesn't really have a pitch that he uses inside to jam the right-handed hitter, so everything's middle of the plate away. Lagares took advantage of it.
So now Anthony Recker at the plate. Recker is 1 for 2. Daryl Siciliani has come out on deck to bat for Colon. So the Mets, who've had the lead twice in this game, only to see the Marlins come back and tie, trying to regain it here in the 7th. See what they do with Recker, who is a long ball threat late in games. There goes the runner, swung and missed. The throw by Solano goes into center field, but holding at second is Lagares. Was that a hit and run play or a straight steal? Either way, Lagares steals the base, his 4th of the year.
Well, what you love to see from Lagares, to see this ball supposed to be away, runs in on Recker. I think it was a hit and run all the way, but Lagares gets the base anyway. Tough throw. Gordon can't make the play, and you'll see Lagares confirms the hit and run. Why? He takes a peek in. Oh, he doesn't take a peek in. I'm absolutely wrong. Did not peek in. steal all the way.
So he went first pitch against Cishek, who's pretty slow to the plate. The Mets have the go-ahead run in scoring position. And Recker takes a slider for a strike, and it's 0-2.
What's great about that, Gary, he's still early. I mean, on the first pitch, do it early.
I'd like to see Lagares running. I know it's not comfortable for him to run right now with the rib problem he's dealing with, but he's the one guy on this team who can really steal a base. 0-2 to Recker. And he goes down swinging at the slider, and there's a big out for Cishek as Recker can't move Lagares over. So now it'll be Siciliani batting for Colon, and Bartolo's only chance for a win today is if the Mets can get him a run in this inning.
Great shot. That's what it looks like. It looks like it's straight down the middle and then takes a left turn on you. Good pitch by Cishek.
Carlos Torres up in the Mets bullpen. Looks like he'll get the 8th inning. So here's Siciliani, who's 0 for 2 in this series, 2 for 15 in his big league career. Facing Cishek for the first time and gets the breaking ball in for a strike.
Fake there by Cishek to second base, just trying to slow down Lagares if he had any thoughts of stealing, but more importantly, not to get that great walking lead in case there's a base hit.
Ordered to steal third with a left-hand hitter up, but boy, would it be better to have him on third base here. Give Siciliani a chance to find a lot of different ways to get him in, including a squeeze bunt.
It's almost no occasion where Tuffle will not send Lagares in this situation unless it's a one-hopper to Stanton in right field.
Cishek keeps it away from Siciliani. 2-1. So Colon is out of the game after 7. He threw just 79 pitches, and of course he'll have extra rest before his next start, like every Met pitcher will, with the 6-man rotation starting this week. Siciliani pounds one into the ground, a foul ball. 2-2.
A lot of fastballs away, a couple of sliders to Siciliani. Let's see if Cishek tries to surprise him with a fastball in.
Curtis Granderson waiting on deck. Lagares at second and 1 out. 3-3 game in the 7th. Up and away and a full count to Siciliani. There have not been any walks in the game today. Colon didn't walk anybody, neither did David Phelps. (3-2) coming to Siciliani, and he lifts it to center field, chasing Ozuna back a few strides. Lagares will tag. Ozuna's got a strong arm, and Lagares will not go. So now 2 out in the inning. And Lagares still stuck at second with Curtis Granderson coming up.
Well, if you're Curtis and you're sitting in the on-deck circle, what did you see from Cishek against Siciliani? Majority of breaking pitches. That's what he's trying to get left-handers out with. He's showing the fastball, but it's the breaking pitch he's trying to get the left-handers out with.
Granderson 1 for 3 against Cishek. Trying to pick up Lagares from second with 2 out. Curtis 0 for 3 today. Hit 1 ball deep to right field his first time up, and then hit a bullet to the second baseman his second trip. So he's had a couple of good swings today. That's 2 for 10 in this series. And Solano picks it on a hop. 2-0.
this is where the thought process comes in for a pitcher and a catcher. Base open, and they're going to walk him.
Well, you got Ruben Tejada on deck. Tejada swung the bat well in this series, but right-hander on right-hander. Dan Jennings has a lot more confidence in Cishek in that matchup.
Yeah, that's the right play.
So this is the first walk of the day for either side, an intentional pass to Granderson. And now the Mets have 2 on and 2 out for Tejada. Ruben 0 for 3 in his career against Cishek and 0 for 3 in the game today. But had a huge hit for the Mets in yesterday's game, a 3-run double that brought the Mets back from a 4-run deficit.
Gary, the outfield here on a base hit. Yelich, an accurate arm, not a great arm. Ozuna, we know, we've seen him. Fantastic arm, not always accurate. Accurate and great in right field with Stanton.
So 2 out and 2 on for Tejada. Good speed on the bases, as much as the Mets can muster with Lagares and Granderson. And the slider off the plate for ball 1. If Tejada can keep the inning alive, Lucas Duda would be next. And Ruben hits it deep to left field, chasing Yelich back to the warning track. It's over his head, short hopping the wall. In to score is Lagares. Granderson stops at third. It's an RBI double for Ruben Tejada, and the Mets go in front 4-3. What a series for Ruben Tejada, getting a chance to play some games in a row and taking full advantage.
On a series where the manager literally said to Tejada, show me something. That's what he's done all series long. Flips this ball over the head of Yelich, and by the time he gets to it, the go-ahead run, Lagares easily scored. Granderson read it great, and I thought the Tough might send him for a second. Great read by Curtis. He knew all the way, digging, but once he got to third base, Tuffle held him up with Duda coming up.
That's going to be all for Steve Cishek. So Cishek takes it on the chin from the Mets again, and they'll bring in the lefty Dunn to face Lucas Duda. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon, America's largest and most reliable 4G LTE network. Mets have gone in front. We'll come right back. Face Lucas Duda for the second straight day.
Well, the ERA might be high, but he's outstanding against left-handed hitters, and that inherited runner stranded. perfect number for Mr. Dunn.
It's not a lot of inherited runners for a situational lefty. Granderson at third, Tejada at second. Duda struck out against Dunn yesterday, but he's 6 for 19 against him in his career. Lucas 0 for 2 today, and goes after the first pitch slider, 0-1. Lucas was hit by a pitch and scored in the first. Struck out looking in the third. Fly to left in the fifth. Base hit here, could plate 2.
Ground ball to shortstop, so base hit and 2 RBIs.
With the shortstop Solano right behind the bag at second. Shallow center field. Gordon, the second baseman, going out, and he makes the catch. Well, because they were playing the triangle shift, Gordon was positioned perfectly. Otherwise, that ball probably falls in. Using the positioning and the speed to take a base hit away from Duda and save a couple of runs. Mets settle for 1 on Tejada's RBI double and lead at 4-3 going to the 8th at Citi Field. Five to 9 on the Pix 11 Morning News, where every story hits home. Fans up and dancing between innings.
That's so cute.
A little generational bonding.
That's right.
Yeah, she's got a groove on.
Orange bow.
Well, Carlos Torres will come in to try and hold a 1-run lead in the 8th.
Well, he was outstanding in yesterday's game. It was almost vintage Torres. See if he can double up back-to-back games.
Top of the batting order for Miami, D. Gordon, who just made that 2-run saving catch a moment ago. Already 2 hits on the day for Gordon, and the only time he didn't, he was robbed by Mayberry with a diving catch. Torres throws a fastball by him, 0-1. So Bartolo Colon is in line for his 8th win of the year, trying to become the first in the National League to get to 8 wins. 7 innings, 3 runs, 6 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts, and a home run against Colon, who also drove in a run, and Gordon trying to butt his way on, fouls it off. 0-2.
I don't know what the weather report is, but the weather's starting to come in.
Yeah, wind is starting to blow. There's certainly plenty of storms in the forecast, and the Mets would not be averse to a deluge right now. Just might make it hard to get to San Diego. Too high, and it's 1-2 to Gordon with Prado and Stanton to follow. Torres a 1-2-3 inning behind Matt Harvey on Friday night, with 2 groundouts and a strikeout.
Apologies, I said that was yesterday. You're right, Friday night.
And Gordon bunting with 2 strikes, and he'll go foul, strike 3. Wow. D. Gordon with a 1-2 count, trying to bunt his way on. A guy who's got 78 hits this year, and he strikes out. That's mind-boggling.
The only time I ever saw that as a kid is I remember Rod Carew occasionally would do that. And you know what? If he keeps it fair, no way Tejada makes the play, but risky play that works against the Marlins.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Martin Prado, who's 0 for 3. Can I ask you a silly question? Do you think D. Gordon forgot there were 2 strikes?
No. I think that we'll get our stat guy on it, Dave Freed. I know he's staring into Wonderland, so maybe he's not even paying attention to me. But I bet you he's done that already this year.
Well, when you can run like Gordon can, I understand. But there has to be less margin for error. You have to bunt it a little straighter, right, with 2 strikes?
You just have to you got to bunt it fair. I mean, you're going for the surprise factor. That's what it is.
Oh, and 2 to Prado with Stanton on deck. And Torres misses high.
It's interesting to watch Prado. At times, he's an unusual hitter. Watch that front foot. Stepping in the bucket.
Makes you think he's not seeing Torres too well.
He's stepping in the bucket a little bit like John Mayberry we've shown a couple times when he swings the bat. His feet move. Not only the front foot will step out. Watch the back foot. I mean, that goes behind him. Very unusual.
Two to Prado. Line center field. Murphy can't get it. It's a base hit for Prado. So stepping in the bucket at all. Prado finds his way on base, and the tying run is on.
Well, if you stay down and away, you battle. You get past that stepping in the bucket. But if you leave it upstairs middle, he can just flip it out to right field. He wouldn't teach that way, but the one thing he did do is he got on top of that high pitch.
Terry Collins is on his way out to the mound. He's got Jerry's Familia warming up, and it looks like he's going to go to Familia for a 5-out save. With Stanton coming up, Terry, who's seen his team lose the first 2 games of the series, is going to pull out all the stops here and try and get 5 outs out of his closer. So Familia coming in. Mets protecting a 4-3 late in the 8th. The call to the bullpen is brought to you by Verizon, America's largest and most reliable 4G LTE network. We'll be right back. Looking for his second 5-out save of the season.
Well, 5 days ago, he pitched 2 innings against the Philadelphia Phillies to get a win. Needs 5 outs today.
And it starts with Stanton. 0 for 3 today. And Familia moves him back 1-0. These are the home runs by year for Stanton, who stayed healthy all last year, unlike the previous year. Well, healthy until he got hit in the face in September, but you know what I mean. Prado at first and 1 out. And Stanton gets overpowered by that fastball, 1-1.
That's the pitch there. The sinker down and in. Stay there. Can't lift that pitch.
Stanton 1 for 6 in his career against Familia.
Staying with it, his record.
And he went around on that half swing, and it's 1-2.
Does not look comfortable up there. First time all series. Good call by the first base young umpire Trip Gibson.
So now Familia ahead in the count 1-2 on Stanton. Tying run at first and 1 out.
Struck him out. Never had a chance. 1-2 slider out of the strike zone, and Stanton is done. 2 out.
Well, Stanton started his day with a check swing pop up to the catcher, and maybe his last bat of the day is a futile swing at a slider.
Well, his heart just wasn't in it, was it?
Familia has become around the league as the nasty guy. Do not want to face him.
Now he's got to deal with Justin Bour, who tied the game with a home run in the 6th inning. And Bour lines one into center field for a base hit. Around second, Prado trying for third, challenging Lagares. The throw gets away. Tejada after it. Prado will stay at third, and into second base goes Bour. Teams have begun to run on Lagares, who's got a bad elbow, and Prado did there. And that was nearly a disaster for the Mets. Now the tying and go-ahead runs are in scoring position.
Well, first, good hitting by Bour. But on the run, Lagares, you can't make this throw. The ball has to go into second base because you want to keep the force. If something happens bad here where it goes off for a runner or the fielder, it could end up with a tying run. That ball should be thrown into second base.
Now Jeff Baker will be the pinch hitter, batting for the pitcher in the number 5 spot. Baker, who played first base yesterday, hit a home run his last at bat against Alex Torres yesterday.
Rector's got to play catcher like a hockey goalie. Be ready for anything. Fastball in the dirt. Doesn't matter.
Prado at third, Bour at second, and Familia picks off the outside corner with a slider.
Okay, Bour was not going to take second. He was going to wait and see what happened in the play. Went halfway. What's going to happen? Ball gets away. He proceeds to second base. That'll have to be an error on Lagares.
You know, they scored at second on the throw, but you're right. That should have been an error because he had absolutely stopped. 0-1 to Baker. And he lays off that slider. 1-1.
Serious heavy lifting for 27.
Well, got to get through this and then the 9th as well. Prado the tying run at third, Bour the potential go-ahead run at second. Baker 0 for 1 in his career against Familia. And that's well off the plate. 2-1.
Nice play by Recker. And I'm serious about this. There's some times where you want to sit back there as a catcher and frame pitches and try to get strikes. This is not one of those times. You're like a hockey goalie. Do anything you can to throw your body or get in front of that baseball because it could go anywhere with the movement from Familia.
Two and 1 to Jeff Baker. Down the right field line. Granderson chasing. Foul ball.
That was the one pitch to hit, wasn't it, for Baker there? Fastball that Familia got up just enough, but he was late. He wanted that to sink down and in, but it stayed middle of the plate. Jammed him enough. Shouldn't say middle. It ran in enough.
Two. Little tapper. Familia off the mound. Makes the toss. Side retire. Familia asked for 5. He gets the first 2. He'll take a sigh and rest up for the ninth.
Caps into the game, and we can only assume that they're talking about Capps' delivery.
Yeah, I'm making the assumption that he's throwing the ball from, about a foot and a half in front of the rubber. First with the rising of the foot, and then he jumps towards the home plate. Both feet are off the ground, and by the time he replants with that back foot, he's about a foot and a half, 2 feet from landing on the grass.
Very similar to Jordan Walden, who we saw many times in a Braves uniform.
Except when this kid is right, he throws more strikes than Walden.
Well, we saw him yesterday, and he looked tremendous. He worked an inning, allowed no runs and 1 hit, struck out his last 2 batters.
Well, I'm glad that Terry Collins came out to talk about it. I don't think anything's going to be done about it, but at some point, the guys on Park Avenue that talk on the headsets, they can address this.
Well,
think about it.
What's interesting is that Terry came out today. You've got a very young umpire behind the plate in Clint Fagan. Yesterday, you had a more veteran umpire in Mike DeMuro behind the plate. And, I'm not sure what these umpires feel empowered to do as Murphy fouls one off.
It's not their fault. I mean, the game is starting to be taken away from them with the replay and other stuff. So certainly not blaming them.
Mark Carlson is the crew chief of this unit. He's out at second base.
Try Becker if it doesn't work with Fagan. You never know.
Very nice. Don't know about you, but I'm never going back to my old school. Well, they are winning today. Murphy, Flores, and Mayberry for the Mets, trying to get some insurance for Familia for the 9th inning. And Murph grounds one down to first. Bohr handles this one cleanly, even stayed in front of it. That's the first down. There's a Bohr error in the first inning, costs the Marlins a run when he played the ball very differently. Your box score brought to you by Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Flores with his 8th home run of the year. Ruben Tejada put the Mets in front with an RBI double in the 7th. Familia able to work out of a jam in the 8th, and he'll be asked to do even more in the 9th. So here's Flores. One behind Duda now for the club lead in home runs. '99 upstairs from Carter Capps.
You know, I always feel like these mechanics come from every pitcher who pitches, Gary. The mechanics come from somewhere. They don't come out of thin air. And I always have this theory, I could be completely wrong, that when someone throws like this, it's because they were little.
Yep.
And they try to get an advantage by somehow using their legs even above and beyond what the normal kid does to try to throw the ball hard.
It's kind of like the little kid in basketball shooting from his shoulder to try and get the extra oomph on his three-pointer.
There you go.
The same thing. Well, as long as they don't ban him from doing it, it's working for him. And the breaking ball gets Flores. First strikeout for Capps, 2 out in the inning.
And if you're trying to hit him, here's what you get. Pretty normal there, but now the delay, the jump, I mean, it's like he's doing the triple jump, the triple Lindy before he throws the ball in there.
Well, the greatest reliever in Marlins history was Rob Nant. He had a toe tap that threw the hitters off. But this is something else entirely. Now John Mayberry, who's gone 0 for 3, lined out to right his last time up. Well, Familia faced the big guys in the 8th inning. He'll get 6, 7, and 8 in the orders. Donovan Solano, Christian Yelich, and Marcelo Zuna in the 9th. No real bench to speak of left for Dan Jennings. He's got his catcher Real Muto and his injured shortstop Echeverria, and that's it. We'll be back in 2 weeks when the Mets take on the Braves, and you can catch that game right here on Pix 11, New York's home for baseball. That's the Mets and Braves, Saturday, June 13th on Pix 11. Mayberry tries to lay off, but he went around on the slider, 1-2.
You know, and I guess we're criticizing the technique, but let's not forget, we're not criticizing the young man. He is nasty. I mean, 95 plus with a hammer. He's got John Mayberry. He doesn't face a lot of right-handers stepping out like Martin Prado did. Not that time. Good swing by John.
It's getting darker and darker around the ballpark. They've turned the lights on now. There's definitely rain coming. The question is, how far away is it? Both these teams are flying after the game. The Mets to San Diego and the Marlins home. Mayberry again with the half swing, and this time he stopped it in time. 2-2.
I do want to say, because, you know, the hard part about umpiring is that we only point out when things are close or they miss a couple of plays. This young crew has had a nice series.
Two from Capps. And Mayberry lines it to Bohr, and that retires the side. So 1-2-3 inning for Carter Capps, and Familia will go right back to it, looking for the save as we go to the 9th. in the 7th to go in front of the Nationals 8-2. They're now in the 9th. The Rockies getting home runs from Nolan Arenado and DJ LeMahieu lead the Phillies 4-1 in the 7th. Diamondbacks, another Paul Goldschmidt home run, another 3-for-3 day every day. They lead the Brewers, who are about to lose their 8th in a row perhaps. And the Cardinals lead the Dodgers. Jerry's Familia asked for a 5-out save, has gotten the first 2. He'll face Donovan Solano leading off in the 9th with the Mets up 4-3. Solano 1-for-3 on the day, and he takes low and away for ball 1. Mets are 25-0 this year when they lead after 8 innings. Familia's had 1 blown save, and the Mets rallied to win that game in 14 against the Cardinals. Solano with a slow ground ball. Flores circling in. 1 out. Flores had a very nice game. In-game box score brought to you by Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Justin Bour, his 2nd home run of the series, tied the game in the 6th before the Mets went in front in the 7th on Ruben Tejada's RBI double. 4-3 in the 9th. 1 out and nobody on for Christian Yelich. Yelich drove in a run with a fielder's choice in the 2nd, doubled and scored in the 5th. 1-for-3 on the day. Marcell Ozuna, who pinch hit in the 7th and stayed in the game, is on deck. On the inside corner to Yelich, 1-1. He already has 1 5-out save this year. That was May the 1st against the Nationals. Hasn't pitched in 5 days, so he's certainly primed for this. Quick pitch fastball in for a strike, 1-2 at 99 miles an hour.
No, you don't want to jinx this, but this team's lost without this young man rising to the occasion to be the closer he's been so far this year. It's fun to watch.
Another quick pitch, and Yelich goes down on strikes, 100 miles an hour from Familia. 2 down in the 9th.
I mean, just pure gasoline. Go sit down. 4-seamer. Letting it go. And this is after getting a couple outs in the 8th.
Still has a tough customer to get here in Ozuna, who is 2 for 6 in his career against Familia. Flied out is only at bat in the 7th.
2 out and nobody on.
And he runs the sinker in on Ozuna, 1-0. If Ozuna keeps it going, Jonathan Solano is on deck. One out. Threw it by him. 1-1. Familia trying to save it for Bartolo Colon, who would be the National League's first 8-game winner. And Ozuna foul tips the slider, and it's 1-2.
Ground ball, Murphy can't get to it. Base hit for Ozuna.
And that's a terrific piece of hitting by Ozuna on a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He keeps the Marlins alive.
Interesting. You couldn't handle anything upstairs. Gets one ball shin high and is able to put it in play. Nice hitting. Ozuna, I think, shortened that stroke up with 2 strikes just to put it in play. Nicely done.
Now Dan Jennings will send up his #1 catcher, JT Realmuto, to bat for Jonathan Solano. Realmuto caught the first 2 games of the series. He had a 2-run homer yesterday against John Neese.
Just great contact. Hits this ball about as late as you can. That ball's at the back of the plate before he makes contact.
Did you see the bat flip?
Yes.
I haven't seen a bat flip for an opposite field single all year.
Against Familia, that's worth a bat flip. Danny Worthington coming out to speak to Familia, really just to calm him down and go over Real Muto. Remember, yesterday he hit that 3-run home run off a first pitch breaking ball off Jonathan Neese. Just letting him know that. Keep that ball down and away.
Real Muto's 0 for 2 in his career against Familia.
Here's a sign from Recker. Only needs to give one with a runner on first. Wants to throw over first. Make sure Ozuna doesn't have a running lead over there. Good move.
Ozuna just one stolen base this year.
Recker getting the signs from the bench. He wants a sinker down and in.
In the dirt and scooped by Recker. 1-0.
I see the defense. Tejada's right on the line. Everyone else is pretty straight up. Lagares is shading to right. I find Curtis very deep in right field, but of course you're trying to play no doubles here.
1-0 to Real Muto with the tying run at first and 2 out. Breaks his bat in half. Wow. that was one nasty sound.
I always find this the most interesting. They trade in a bat. And listen to this sound. They hit that right off his thumbs.
Only the third time this year Familia's thrown more than 20 pitches in a game. He has to do a little extra today. 1-1 to Real Muto. 1-2. So for the second time, Familia has the Marlins down to their final strike. They saved one match point. Ozuna back.
You're heading to count. If you decide to go with a slider, make sure you bounce it away.
And he bounces it. Fastball. 2-2.
Good play by Anthony.
You know, this is the thing we've learned about Familia. You've always got to be ready for the pitch in the dirt, even when you call fastball.
You just never know. Gets on you so quick.
Two and 2 to Real Muto. If he keeps it going, D. Gordon would be next. There's nobody up behind Familia. Two. Just got a piece. It's a foul ball. Foul ball. Recker pounced on it just to make sure.
Hits the ball even with the plate. It stays right there.
Remember, if it's on the plate, it's a fair ball. But the home plate umpire, Clint Fagan, said it was just behind the plate. And it was real close.
I wonder if Recker had let it move or stay a little longer, if it maybe came back on that plate. But as a catcher, you're taught to pounce on it. He was trying to pounce on it while it was on the plate.
2-2 to Real Muto. Popped up. Who's going to get it? Tejada. And the ball game is over. Jeurys Familia with the 5-out save. Bartolo Colon becomes the National League's first 8-game winner. Tejada with the go-ahead hit, and the Mets salvage the finale against the Marlins as they win it 4-3.
And a game that the Mets had to have. they turn to their 42-year-old who did it not only on the mound, but also after.